Hey guys, I'm Coach Britt with Gut Health School, and in the spirit of all things wellness right now, I'm going to show you how to make homemade sauerkraut. Why we're doing this today is for those of you who don't know, one of the most beneficial things you can do for your immune system and your overall health is to tend to your gut. And with at least 70% of your immune system manufactured in the gut, taking care of that is really important. And one of the biggest ways we can take care of it is with probiotics. So, while you may know, probiotics often come in supplemental form, in pills and supplements, and while I'm a big advocate of those, they can be rather expensive, especially if you're trying to feed them to your entire family. And we can do more. Nature actually designed probiotics naturally in fermented foods and a lot of the things that we actually can make. In fact, a lot of cultures that are the healthiest cultures actually have some form of fermented food, whether it be sauerkraut like we're gonna make today, or whether it be kimchi, or things like kefir and fermented milk products. It's a cultural norm that actually dated back years and years ago and probably did a lot for their health. In fact, a couple tablespoons of raw sauerkraut is said to have more probiotic benefit than an entire bottle of 100 supplements. So why this is so important is because we can make it at home for way less, and it's a naturally occurring source of probiotics that we can feed the entire family. So while you can buy sauerkraut, this is how, if you do purchase it in the store, you want to make sure it's raw. It's not pasteurized. If it's pasteurized, if it's the stuff on the shelf, then it's likely just had all of the probiotics boiled out of it, all the bacteria. Bacteria is not bad, it's actually what helps us, a lot of that bacteria. So you want to make sure you get this stuff in the refrigerated section. I'm trying to do my best to cover up this label, but you will see if you get it in the refrigerated section, which is awesome, and I do it too when I don't have time. This runs about $8 for this jar. So you can imagine if you're feeding your family a few tablespoons a day. For everybody, we have an almost 8-person family now. So that can get expensive too. So to be able to make it, I'm gonna show you guys how to make this. And I would say I put together this jar for maybe $4, and that's the price of the jar too. And that's at least 2 to 3 times as much as the original can I showed you that was $8 in the store. So I'm gonna show you how to make it. One thing you guys are gonna need is you'll need at least 1 whole cabbage. I did a half a green and a half of a red. You'll need some pink sea salt. The healthier sea salt, the better. The fresher, more organic the cabbage, the better too. And then you'll need some kind of big canning jar. Make sure it's washed and cleaned really well. No bleaches or chemicals. Just make sure it's hot water washed really, really well, because you don't want to start it with any bad bacteria in there. We want to grow the good bacteria, not the bad. So yeah, and then a bowl and a tablespoon or a 1/4 cup measuring cup, and you're ready to go. So I'm going to pre-chop some of this and then show you guys the rest of the tips. Okay, so I saved you guys the time of watching me chop all of the cabbage really fine, but you just want to chop it really, really fine because it'll pack better and it will absorb the brine a little bit better. But if you have like a food processor or something, that's even more convenient. Just run through a food processor on a more fine setting and you can get it shredded down pretty good. So anyways, I mixed bowls. You just want to toss them together in a bowl. What you do want to do before you do that though is leave out like a big leaf like this, a hard leaf, unless you have some kind of weight, like a specific canning weight, because it's going to help keep your stuff packed down. I'll show you when we fill the jar here. But anyway, so we got it all mixed together. We want to add 3 tablespoons of the pink sea salt to this and then mix it up, and then we're going to just kind of massage it into the cabbage, and that's going to help. Your salt acts as a preservative, and it helps with the actual fermentation process. And the healthier salt you use, the better. So your natural sea salts, not your commercial iodized salts. It's gonna taste better that way. It's gonna have higher mineral content. First, you're just gonna toss it, and it's just gonna feel kind of gritty. And once you feel like it's kind of tossed around there pretty good, just make sure your hands are clean. Obviously, wash your hands in everything you do. Then we just want to kind of massage it in. So when you kind of squeeze it into the cabbage, it's going to release the natural moisture that's in the cabbage, and it's going to cause the brine to just absorb better. So that's what we're doing right now. This is so crazy easy that once you make it right and it turns out good, you'll wonder why the heck you didn't do this a long time ago. You can do a lot of other things too. You can do pickles that have high probiotic content. You can do all kinds of things. Sauerkraut's just what we're gonna do today. And I guess in the spirit of the upcoming St. Patty's Day, it's a good opportunity. This is such a great way to boost your immune system. My kids love it. My two boys, they've been raised on this stuff, and so they've always loved things like sauerkraut and pickles. Some kids will have a little bit of an aversion to it. I find that if you call it like pickle strings or something like that, or if you just eat it in front of them a lot, they'll ask if they can have some. It doesn't take much to actually give a lot of culture to the gut and give it that probiotic boost. And in fact, if you're not used to it, I wouldn't overdo it. I wouldn't go have a big amount of sauerkraut with your food. Start with like a heaping spoon or something per day, especially kids. Or less than that till their little gut gets used to it. Okay, so that should be almost good. You see how it like broke down a lot too? So it's gonna pack a lot easier. It looks like there's water in it, but it's not. It's just the water from the cabbage. So, okay, now what we want to do, you know what's cool too is all those commercial pickled things that we buy, they're all made with vinegar. They don't actually, and a lot of them are pasteurized and stuff because that's the USDA standard, right? But we miss all the probiotic benefit. And this stuff actually, natural preservation, provides almost that fermentation that's vinegary, but or pickled essentially, but without vinegar. So for people with things like SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, certain kinds of other gut issues that can't handle vinegars, it's great because they can still do sometimes the raw sauerkraut, raw fermented veggies, and get the benefit. Some other things that have probiotics are things like kefir, which is like a fermented raw milk or yogurt drink. I mean, if our kids come in, we're home with our kids today, so as everybody is. And things like kombucha. The kombucha has some wild yeast in it, and it does have more sugar. So for people that have an overgrowth issue or like a sugar, like an overgrowth like of candida, you might want to be careful with that. That's where fermented veggies are preferable. So now what you need, which I forgot to mention in the beginning, is purified water. Is you're going to cover all of this, and it's going to create what we call a brine. So you want to cover all of the vegetables in the purified water, but you still want it to stop about 2 inches below the cap because it's going to expand and you don't actually want it to touch the metal on top. We're going to firstly leave about 3 inches because we're going to make a little weight essentially with the cabbage. Like I said, hold out that big hard piece of cabbage there. And what we're gonna do, I'm gonna shove it in there. We should shove it like this. See if you need to use a couple of pieces. I'm not really well versed in this part, but it's gonna help you kind of shove it, keep it shoved down into the brine, and then you can add a little more water. So anything that's out of the water, as it starts expanding, could get moldy. Now, once you pull it out after it sits, I guess we'll go to that in a minute. So, you'll put your lid on. You see we've got about 2 inches of space. That might be a little short, but we'll just hope for it. Put your lid on, and then we're gonna let it sit in a like semi-warm, cool, not to the kind of room temperature spot for 3 to 7 days, and then it'll go in your fridge, and it's edible at that point, and you can keep it in your fridge for up to 9 months. Now, do double check with your climate how long you should let it sit for, because it's going to make a big difference as to whether or not you're in a really warm climate versus a cold climate. And then look for some troubleshooting tips. Like sometimes there will be a little bit of like white stuff on top, but it's not mold or anything bad per se. You can just scrape it off and you're just fine. Sometimes you need to make sure to resubmerge or pack it down every couple days, because if it starts coming out of the brine, you want it to stay in there. If you start to see real mold on it, then the batch is bad. You're gonna have to start over, discard it, and do a different one. But look for some of those tips. We'll try and put some maybe on our blog too. I'll put this video on our website at hwcacoach.com, where we talk about gut health, wellness, and we train top coaches in gut health and mindset strategy. So if you have any more questions, check there. You can find us on Facebook, you can follow the YouTube channel, and you can get access to our closed gut health and mindset group where we do stuff like this all the time. And we'd love to have you join us. Thank you.